You made it pretty big though with your donation, so good job.
Thanks, Luke. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's the first marathon run of the game I've done in a couple of years now. I think the last time it might have been
Yep.
SMW.
I think that was the last time I watched you do it. At least I don't know if you've done it since then.
No, not in the marathon, and I had nerves. But anyway, not enough about me. We have Stinger in here.
Hey guys.
Yep,
Good morning.
and we have hey Stinger, and we'll have Yagamoth coming in to commentate as well.
Yep.
And he's coming in now. Hello, Yaga.
Good morning.
Morning. I'm going to put on your game sound, then go do an audio check real quick, and we'll actually be ready to have you started.
Alright. I'm basically ready whenever you guys are, so just let me know.
Okay, if you guys keep talking for a bit, and I'll go listen.
Alright. File name is Do the Thing, right?
Yep. We got in touch with our anonymous 2K donor. We would still prefer to remain anonymous, but he wants to make sure that Stinger does the thing, so
I will do the thing.
do the thing.
You simply have to make sure to type do thing the for names. Otherwise it's not going to be the right order.
Yeah, it's actually going to be Do Thing the way I'm going to need to do it, because the girl gets named third.
Oh, then maybe you should just change her to.
I could swap that
thing.
around then.
I mean, yeah, all he really wanted was for the party to be named to do the thing, so,
Yeah.
whatever order makes sense. I thought it was guy, girl, and sprite. But...
Yeah.
Okay, audio sounds good, so we're actually ready whenever.
Alright.
And just confirming the file names, do the thing.
Yep. Alright. I'll give a countdown.
Thank
3,
you.
2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Thanks. Hopefully I will not need too much.
Hopefully.
But, yeah, this game is kind of notorious for the RNG involved, but we're pretty good at dealing with it by now.
Well, at least you shouldn't die, I guess.
I hope not. The early part of the game is actually the most dangerous part, where I can die, because you only have the one character at that time, and it's easier to recover later in the game when you've got multiple characters. So, if I get some really bad RNG combined with bad play, I can die early. I really hope that doesn't happen. I see a comment about how it's not Japanese. A fun fact about this game is that the Japanese version is probably the worst thing you could ever do to yourself as a speedrun. Yagamoth and I did a race of the Japanese version a few weeks ago, maybe a month now, and we demonstrated very well why you should never use the Japanese version for this game run, and that's because it has a random chance of soft locking after every boss. We had a combined 17 soft locks between us.
I think it was more like 19.
Was it 19? It was something like that. And it also turns out
special.
Yeah, it turns out the game is just slower in general in Japanese for whatever reason. Some text cues seem slower, and also the shopping menus are slower.
So in general, for the movement in this game, for people that are not quite familiar with it, you have a percentage bar, and you always need 100% to start running, and once you start running, you are committed to that direction to run. So movement is very much planned, so to speak, but it is also tied to hitting enemies.
Yeah, the enemies that will spawn on screen can dictate the dashes I'll do at times. There's some specific screens where I kind of have to react to what the enemies are doing as to how I'll be dashing. Now, these first couple screens, I'm going to be killing some enemies, and that's to level up the sword, not necessarily leveling up my character. I swung too early there.
Yeah, character levels in this game are generally pretty pointless for a one-player to controller run, and the reason for that you'll see in, I think, about half an hour, if you don't die. But the short version is, in a one-player two-controller run is very different from a one-player one-controller run, and that's mostly due to, I think, 3 or 4 specific glitches, which are only possible with multiple controllers. So even though it says one-player two controllers, for the most part Stinger will be using one, and just for bosses and specific skips and tricks, use 2 controllers.
Alright, I got 8 kills in that first screen, and I need 11 to level the sword up to level 1. So that's pretty good. Average is usually 7, but I got an extra rabbit to spawn at the very end. That's not a 100% spawn. Most of the others that I kill, I get every single time. So getting that one extra rabbi, it's going to allow me to despawn another enemy that'll be coming up in the screens after this boss.
So yeah, he needs a total of 11 enemies to level up his weapon to level 1, and that's the goal before the Water Palace. What the Water Palace is pretty obvious, I guess, once you see it.
This boss has a strat basically where I just stand in front of him and tank damage and get bad RNG when he blocks like that. Yeah, this is really bad RNG. Unfortunately, this is the fastest strat, and it's pretty much completely reliant on Mantis Ant giving me the right patterns, basically. I should be able to get a slash in while he's slashing like that, but it got blocked randomly a couple of times. We're not 100% sure why that happens. I think it has something to do with frame rules, but we haven't done all the research into the memory watch and whatever to actually figure that out.
The thing is, Secret of Mana runs on a 5-frame cycle. Basically, it registers a hit when you slash with the sword only every 5 frames. But the problem with that is, even if we know how exactly it would work, we still would have no method to determine where exactly the boy would be on the frame cycle. And that was the first boss. Even if you would die there, that wouldn't be a problem, I guess.
No, that boss will actually, you'll get revived if you die to that boss because it's a tutorial boss. That's where the game tries to teach you that you should wait until your sword is at 100% before swinging.
And a small fun fact, if you get into this house somehow, circumventing the NPCs before fighting the Mantis Ant, this cutscene will play automatically and you will skip Mantis Ant. But we have not found a way to do that.
I didn't actually know that. Neat. Yeah, if we could only figure out a way to get around the NPCs there.
Yeah, there are quite a few places where simply getting past NPCs would save a lot of time. But there is a way to get past NPCs, but that way is very specific and doesn't work everywhere. You'll see that at some point.
Okay, didn't get the despawn there. Oh well. Just meant I had to slash at that flower instead of just running by.
Yeah, spawns in this game are very interesting to say the least. Generally speaking, when you walk diagonally, scrolling the screen, enemies won't spawn as much. It's a bit weird how it works. But in some places we are going, I guess Stinger is going to run intentionally against a wall, even though it doesn't affect his movement at all, it will still affect the spawns of enemies. And another cutscene.
Yeah, the early game is kind of filled with cutscenes, unfortunately. But nothing we can do about that. Just makes resets a little bit more painful.
So, in this cutscene he will receive a spear, which is the second weapon in the game, and conveniently it's a really good weapon for a speedrun, because it allows us to, well, hit bosses rather well. I don't think there would be another weapon that would be better.
Nah, although, really in general, it wouldn't matter what weapon they give us here as long as they give us a weapon. Because I
guess
think...
it shouldn't be the boomerang.
Yeah, as long as it's not the boomerang. The
Although
boomerang is the best weapon for tasks, but not for a real-time run.
Yeah. That has to do with the glitch we're going to execute to kill bosses really quick. Basically, the boomerang has a chance to double hit bosses, which is quite significant, but the problem with it is the boomerang, how far it flies is dependent on the charge level, and because the charge level is going to be really high, it will not fly at all, so the hitbox of the boomerang is literally going to be right in front of the character, which makes hitting bosses really difficult.
Right there I did a soft reset just to skip a couple text boxes and automatically move to the bottom of the map.
Yeah, you can do a soft reset in this game by holding start, select L and R, and that's, well, intended. Mostly.
So I've got the sword at level 1, now I'm trying to get the spear at level 1.
And again, he needs 11 enemies to do that. Or else he needs to kill 11 enemies, I guess.
Some reason that rabbit despawned. I don't actually understand why that one did.
Stinger, whenever you have a moment, we do actually have a new donation for you.
Okay. Go for it.
Alright then, we have a $10 donation from Origami Player. And he says, I just had to donate to this. Secret of Mana is one of the best games I have ever played, and StingerPA and Yagamoth have done such great work speedrunning and streaming it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Origami Player.
Thank you. So one thing also to mention is sometimes the weapon, when Stinger swings it at enemies, will do less than the maximum amount of damage, and that's approximately a 20% chance of happening. So usually against goblins he does 21 damage, but sometimes he will only do, I think, 15.
That was perfect goblins there.
Indeed. Also, there are critical hits. And I think you only have about a 1% or 2% chance to get critical hits, so they are rather insignificant and we don't plan around them.
That was awful RNG. I didn't get a single double high damage roll on them.
By the way, this cave is pretty notorious, especially for newer runners, to end the run really early.
Uh-oh. Oh no, I might be dead.
Uh-oh.
I'm not dead. Oh my god.
Wow. So yeah, that's the main reason. Enemies can combo you. And if they do, it can get really hairy really quick.
Nope, I'm not taking that RNG. Still not taking that. That slime's not supposed to be moving up there. Okay. Normally it moves to the left and then I can just walk above it, but if it walks up like it was doing, I have to reset the room, otherwise I probably will get hit.
And I mean, in general, we would simply try to go for it, but in a marathon run, that's not recommended.
Yeah, even though I do have the save with the Water Palace, and it only costs a few minutes, I'd rather not have to go back there.
There.
Okay, we made it. You want to talk about the black glitch?
Sure. So what he's going to do is manipulate the store in a very, let's say, specific way. Basically what you're doing, you are setting up the game in a way that it forgets to move the cursor on which slot it is. Yeah, exactly. What that does is you go into the inventory, then you sell the third item slot item on which you have currently the cursor. Then you go back into the shop and try to sell it twice. And because the game only moves your cursor once, it basically is still on the second item slot with the cursor, and which is not an item, even though it shows that it's on the magic rope. It's actually not the magic rope he has selected, it's actually the second empty item slot. Oh, that was a terrible explanation.
I think that you got the point across. Basically, we just glitched the game selecting an item slot that has nothing in it, and apparently nothing sells for almost 30,000.
Yeah. Also, he is going to set up another glitch by buying quote-unquote too much armor here. I mean, every character can only equip 3 items at a time, but he is going to buy a lot more armor. That has to do with another glitch, which is very weird, but the gist of it is you can manipulate different values in your inventory, basically, by standing on very specific spots on the screen. Currently you're standing on right next to the shop, and that gives him a position to manipulate items for, well, in his actual item menu. What that does is it reduces the amount of items he has by 2. So he had 2 candies, 2 life water, cups of wishes, and 2 medical herbs, but now all of those items are zeroed. What this does is, well, they didn't disappear from the menu, but instead you now have quote-unquote 0 items, but since the game doesn't handle a 0 too well, you can use those items 8 times each.
Yeah, in this game, 0 equals 8. It's a fun way of doing math. Also, Yago, you were right about this room and the movement.
Really?
Yes, what I was doing before was slower. I tested it out a couple weeks ago with the tests, and finally figured out that you were right.
Nice.
Gentlemen, do we have a moment for a donation?
Go ahead.
We have a new donation from Estonian Viking for $8.95, and he says, "I love Secret of Mana." Good donation.
Yeah, I loved Secret of Mana too.
I agree.
Definitely one of my favorite games growing up.
So, almost done with the cutscenes in the town, and the boss will come soon.
Alright, second boss and first real boss coming up. The strategy for this is pretty simple. Charge the sword up, wait for Tropicalo to come out of his shell, and hit him. And I'll get rid of this Brambler by hitting it a couple times. That keeps it from being too annoying. Now on the second and future cycles, I will be hitting him twice per cycle. That will allow me to kill him in 5 cycles, or less if I get a crit, but that usually doesn't happen. And if you're wondering why I didn't hit him twice on the first cycle, there's actually something weird with his AI that will cause him to just pop up and go down immediately on the second cycle. But this hit should kill him. Unless I miss. Oops. I released a couple frames too early there.
Yeah, it's actually very precise to kill Tropicolor with exactly that setup. Basically what Stinger did is he hit him on the very first frame every single time Tropicolor popped up, and then as soon as possible again. This, yeah, is pretty much the fastest way. And as I said, it's very precise. And now for the second character.
Yep. The sprite
do
is
the thing?
named The.
So we do the thing. Well, not yet. We do the. That's pretty crazy, such a donation.
Yeah. That was the donation that got us to 6K, wasn't it? I think it was anyways.
I'm sorry, Stinger. Were you talking about the $2,000 donation for the
Yeah.
gaming? Yes, that was. We were at I think just about 4,000. Somebody donated 2,000 to put us over that threshold. Very generous.
Yeah, it was amazing how the marathon met its goal in just 8 hours.
We, set this goal, and honestly, we were, getting ready to explain to the Japanese runners, well, we might not meet the goal. We might only have so much, and, we might not be able to pay for everything. And then 8 hours later, we were done.
Japan love.
The community, really came together and showed their love for these Japanese runners, and, we are so appreciative of that.
Alright, so this little segment is going to feature basically the last bit of weapon grinding, because I need to get the sword to level 2 before the next boss. And that's going to allow us to completely break the game.
Yeah, the important thing is here that Stinger gets the last hits on enemies with the sword, otherwise he will only gain half the weapon experience.
Except with these flowers, even though I'm having the boy get the last hit on them, it doesn't actually matter who gets the last hit here, because the way weapon experience works in the game, your level is a factor of it, and the boy's level is too high to get full experience from the flowers, only half experience. But since the sprite is still level 2 right now, he would get full experience, and that would result in the boy getting half of what the sprite gets, which would turn out to be the exact same as what the boy would get on his own.
And upcoming is one of the nightmares for every casual player, the two wolves.
Yeah, but
Basically-
before that, I'm going to be doing one more set of item trashing.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Going to multiply the Royal Jam, etc.
Royal Jam and the Fairy Walnuts. This is not starting out well.
Yeah, the wolves are very brutal. And if he didn't use the money glitch, so to speak, he wouldn't necessarily have the best armor. And those wolves can do... well, they can combo you pretty brutally if you're not prepared for them. But by hitting them precisely when they just get out of their hit stun, he can dispose of them relatively easily. But as you can see, the sprite
Okay.
got
And now we got Thing. I lost so many frames naming them.
But yeah, fun fact. Every time the names are mentioned, for every character you use, you lose 1 frame. So normally in the speedrun we would name those characters, well, single character names, to save about a few seconds over the course of the run.
Out of curiosity, can multiple characters share the same name, or do they all have to be?
They cannot. And fun fact, there's a glitch involved with that. For example, if you try to name the same character like another character, like naming the girl here, like the sprite would result in you couldn't start and finish the name setting. It would simply not work. But the thing is, the game sets up actually the character anyways, every time you press start. That means the character would get their armor, etc. equipped already. So if you choose the same name like the sprite, you would have actually multiples of the ninja suit, which is the girl's starting armor, in your inventory. That took a long time until we figured out how that works.
Yeah, shoutouts to a guy named Reggers. He's a casual player who actually has done a lot of work with looking at the programming and all sorts of things, and he figured out some of the boss AI scripts that led to a couple neat realizations. Also, werewolves are jerks. It casted Cure Water on that Chauvin hood, which meant I would take a while to kill it. So I just had to skip that. I should still have enough kills, though. If I don't, I can just farm a couple of chairs at the end of this area. But we have the second werewolf fight coming up. If the sprite will get over here. What? That's a new one.
And yeah, the AI is pretty notorious for getting stuck everywhere. Thing is, it's kind of a minigame for us at this point to make sure they don't get stuck, since they will do the same time every time we do the same time, but it's so precise to manipulate them, sometimes it's just the AI is...
Yeah, people say the AI in this game has really bad pathfinding, but the truth is there actually is no pathfinding. They are purely going off of what the first controller does. Oops.
And when characters are dead and ghosts, the pathfinding is even worse.
Okay, this did not go as planned.
Here would be the first instance of using 2 controllers at once, which is pretty tricky.
Okay, got the sword leveled up. That chest. It got in the way there. Alright, I use a barrel before going into this cutscene, and that's a setup for the boss fight. Spiky Tiger is pretty well known for being the hardest boss casually, because you don't have any magic yet. But we have some strats for him, although he can still troll us pretty badly.
I think he has about a 50% chance to jump away or something like that.
Yeah, it's about a 50% chance of this fight going right or going horribly wrong. There pretty much isn't an in-between. And it went right.
Spoilers. Boom. So yeah, he just pretty much one-shot Spiky Tiger. And that's due to an overcharge glitch. What happened is the boy has his sword level to level 2 and his spear level to level 1. And then he charged up his spear to level 1, which is the maximum. The game recognized it as being at max charge level. Then he used the second controller to swap out the weapon with the boy with the sword. And since the game thought he was still at the maximum level, he automatically got elevated to charge level 2 with the sword, and then he switched back to the spear. And the game is not prepared to handle having the spear already charged up to level 2, even though he technically can only charged up to level 1, and what it does is it overflows the value. Well, not overflow, but it increases the value every single frame by 1, which means instead of a charge level 2, in the end he executes a charge level, I think 80 or 90 or something like that.
Yeah, all I know is that it gets the charge level to a really high number, and because of the way it's used in the damage formula, it maxes that damage almost every time.
Indeed, and max damage is 999, and then armor reduction comes afterwards.
Please, Sprite.
And yeah, pathfinding.
Or lack thereof. That was completely my fault, unfortunately. You should be able to manipulate the AI properly at almost all times.
Oh yeah, to put that into perspective for people that don't know the game, what a charge level 80 means is, in the end game, at the very end, you can charge up your weapons up to level 8. So having 10 times as much of that is pretty crazy. So what's also a different glitch in this game is you can actually keep your current charge attack via the use of two controllers. What you do is you open the menu, release the charge attack on the other controller, close the menu and repress the charge button while
I missed.
the menu is closing. Exactly. Well, Stinger doesn't do that on the first two bosses, since usually they are easy enough to hit anyways, but in later bosses that's going to be a pretty useful technique.
Yeah, I've used a little bit more risky strat on this guy by not buffering the attack and keeping it, but usually I don't miss like that. I accidentally got too high of a charge attack, and it was a different animation than what I was wanting. I was usually going for one of the spin attacks that are in that area, but I ended up just getting one of the normal slashes.
Also, normally that boss just now actually has two forms, but by doing enough damage you skip the second one.
So yeah, about what I just did with the rope there. What I did was I used the magic rope with the sprite and then walked into the trigger to talk to Undine. And that warped me to the entrance and then played the cutscene. So, fun little glitch there. It hardly saves any time at all, but it's neat. Now, I'm able to skip all these enemies because all of the leveling for my weapons and such is over. I'm basically ready to go all the way to the end game, really. If it weren't for armor and stuff. But unfortunately there's not a skip to go straight from here to the Mana Fortress.
That would be interesting.
It really would be.
I think we could actually beat Mana Fortress at this level already. With a little bit of trickery.
Yeah, we probably could.
In any case, the early game in this, well, in Secret of Mana is a fair bit of backtracking. He is now going into Gaia's level for the second time, and he will get back here a third time too. But after that, about usually 50 minutes, it's going to get very interesting with this game. Because new areas, etc. In earlier stages of speedrunning this game, we used to use frost weapons in this area, because getting past the goblins can be really tricky.
Yeah, we've developed enough strats so that we don't need to waste time casting Frost Saber, though.
Unless you get hit anyways, and it wastes time.
Yeah, but you shouldn't get hit.
As usual. For reference, there's basically kind of the in-joke that in Secret of Mana every single room has about a 1 to 5% chance to go wrong. And you will probably see this in one place or another. Depending on which room goes wrong, so to speak, it is worse or not so bad.
Alright, that was actually a pretty good underground palace. And I didn't get hit at the rope pole, which can sometimes happen.
Which usually happens to me, actually. Yeah, that was a very solid Earth Palace. And now for the boss.
Oh no. I released that charge attack just a frame too late.
That's unfortunate. At least he didn't combo you.
Yeah. And I didn't get a low damage roll, so...
That's good. So, by the way, for people that wonder, don't worry, not every boss is going to be a one-shot. There are plenty of bosses where plenty of things can go wrong, and it gets more interesting as a viewer, I guess. So,
yeah, there are bosses
later.
where things will go wrong. Not that they might, they definitely will. Fun thing about this area that we just discovered a month or so ago is that we used to think that we had to seal the Earth Seed because to trigger fauna spawning in the next village and basically just progressing the story. Turns out we don't actually need to do that.
Yeah,
so we can just magic rope out of here.
Indeed, all the Earthseed does is it despawns all the enemies within the palace here. But that's, well, it's not of interest. It doesn't interest us at all, since we are not going there anymore. So we simply skip the Earthseed. Plus a pretty long cutscene too. Also another fun fact, the seeds in this game, as in mana seeds, they give you a little bit of boost to your attack and defensive ratings, which is nice little trivia for, well, casual players, I guess. Plus, it allows you to level up magic higher than before.
Yeah, but for a run that completely abuses the overcharge mechanic, it's pretty much not necessary.
Indeed, he doesn't use any magic at all. Well, that's not true. None for attacking.
Oops. We got sign percent.
Nice.
Yeah, there's only one case Yeah, I'll say one, maybe two cases in the entire speedrun where magic can actually be used for damage and be useful, and that's on Fire Gigas. If you get a low damage roll, you can cast Freeze on him to get a guaranteed kill. Or on Wallface, which is the upcoming boss, if you get a low damage roll, you can cast Earth Slide on him, and that's a maybe kill. You might get a low damage roll with the magic too, and then your Earth Slide wouldn't do enough. But that's just a backup strat in case you don't get good damages with your overcharge. Anyways, I'm controlling the girl here because she's already at the top of the steps. Just cuts out some of the their lag frames or whatever.
Yeah, walking on stairs is really weird in this game. You basically stop your movement for a few frames every other frame or something like that. So it's really slow. So you want to avoid stairs whenever possible. And in the upcoming room, he's going to do what we already stated. He's going to run up left against the wall to despawn an enemy on top of the stairs, which would be a major pain to get past with, well, the AI reacting to enemies like that.
That's
Also-
nice, they're too strong.
Okay.
What were you gonna say?
Yeah. Whenever you are hit by a spell which leaves a debuff on a character, you can use a medical herb to remove the debuff immediately. The animation of the spell will still play out, but the damage, if it does any damage, would be negated entirely, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. When I entered this final room, I accidentally dashed down, even though I was holding left and up. That's what's known as a first frame dash. I dashed on the first available frame that I could, and for whatever reason, the game does not accept your D-pad inputs and just dashes you in a predetermined direction. And for this room, it was straight down.
I think that might be a frame rule thing.
It might be. I really have no idea. I just know that when I've tested it, it's always been on that first available frame or whatever.
Okay, this boss is kind of special for speedrunners because it's a wall, but ironically enough, he's the first boss who actually has an evasion rating, which means there's a random chance of about 40%
I cast
that
Cure Water.
the boss could actually simply evade your attack randomly, and there's nothing you can do about that.
Apparently I didn't buffer the attack properly, so I ended up having to use Earth Slide twice because I got a low damage roll and didn't keep the charge attack.
And another fun fact, if you kill both eyes of this wall, it actually will trigger a special event, which will move the wall slowly towards the bottom, where there are spikes, and if it reaches the spikes, you are automatically dead. So, as a speedrunner, you definitely want to avoid hitting both eyes at any point, since triggering that event takes quite some time until it's finished. So another thing about this game, by STA standards, using 2 controllers is considered to be a co-op run, even though we both run it 1 player 2 controller. For Speed Demo's Archive it would be still considered a co-op run. So what we tried to do this year at HADQ is get a good co-op run during HADQ, since that's the only time we meet Sozusagen IRL. And the run was actually reasonably okay, but it had the audio cut out, which is why we didn't submit it to STA.
Yeah, for some reason when we recorded, the video was fine, but there was no audio with it. So that was very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's still technically the fastest co-op run we have.
Yeah, my PB is about 30 seconds behind it. But that should be improved sometime soon.
Yeah, hopefully next HADQ. Plus we discovered quite a few new things along the way, which save a few minutes, a minute or two. So a co-op run of this game would be a lot better than a single player run, mainly because of how the AI characters react to any enemies when you try to run past them. In a lot of cases we have to stop and simply specifically manipulate the AI's movement to get past enemies, which wouldn't happen in a multiplayer run. You may want to save after this one.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
And there is a miss.
Yeah, I'm getting a bunch of evasions on this boss. Okay. I didn't get the whiteout skip. There's a thing you can do after certain boss fights in this game, where if you walk over event tiles as the boss is exploding, you can skip the whiteout that happens after the boss, and it saves about 2 seconds.
Don't forget to save.
I forgot to save. Oh gosh. Muscle memory is way too strong.
So yeah, let's hope Jabberwocky doesn't combo you.
Yeah, the thing about Jabberwocky is he usually goes okay, but he has a certain RNG that if I get it, it could kill the run.
Yeah, it's, I think, less than a % chance of that happening, but it's still that small chance. Let's see whether the fish are nice to you. Wow, perfect. Past those fish. That's a lot trickier, I guess.
Yeah,
than it looks.
both the areas went perfectly.
It's always a bit interesting to me that when you run the game, those little things look a lot more amazing and groundbreaking, but if you watch it casually, it's simply, well, players walking past some enemies. What's special about that? It's generally only when you know that something can go wrong.
Oh no. I mean, I didn't get it.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna use a candy.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god. I survived.
Yeah.
That boss. Oh my god.
I'll actually read this game.
Really scary doesn't cover it.
Yeah. Thing is, that basically is half of the worst RNG you can get. Basically getting 2 acid rains in a row. Oh, by the way, talking to the seat from the side is pretty neat.
Oh yeah. That is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, walking on stairs is for beginners. In any case, what Jabberwocky can do is he can use acid rains 3 times in a row, and the second time he would use it after you hit him. Basically, he uses acid rain as a response and his normal actions twice in a row without any break in between, which would straight up kill the entire party. So getting that start was actually scary.
Yeah, getting an acid storm before I even was able to unleash my attack is incredibly rare. Please, girl. Yeah, caught on the flower there.
Well, she likes flowers. And now, finally, the scenery changed a bit.
Yep, finally get to leave the beginning areas.
And from here on out, basically the game turns into a boss rush. You run through an area, kill a boss to regain your HP, repeat. Talking to a Moogle to advance the story, and figure out that you have to kill some stuff in their actual village. I guess we didn't pay much attention to the story up to now.
No, we really haven't, because we kinda destroyed the story later in the game.
Yeah, kind of. Basically, if you watch a speedrun, you have no idea what's going on. You're killing bosses. Also, those pebblers, those blue hedgehogs, well, blue-yellow, they are the worst enemies in the game you have to kill, well, regular enemies, because they have literally the same level of evasion a boss has. So you have an approximately 40% chance of missing them, even though your attack would technically hit them.
Yeah, a lot of people think the hitboxes in this game are really bad, but it's really just that everything has an evade stat later in the game.
Yeah, and I think the evade stat is pretty binary. Either they have it or they don't, right?
Yeah. There's only one monster or boss in the game that has anything different from a 0 or 99 evade rate, and that's the kimono bird that's coming up in the nearby caves. And it has a 94 evade rate, so it's still very high.
There's almost 40% chance of missing.
Yeah, at about this point it's 37 to 38% chance of missing. And that's based off of your agility stat, which increases with levels. So by the end of the game, it'll be about a 30% chance of missing, rather than almost 40.
And upcoming is one of the more annoying bosses in a speedrun.
Yeah, this guy is very well known for trolling, because the special thing about him is that his hitbox is a little weird. His beak is an invincibility shield, and if you were to touch it, then you get a ding sound like I just did. So that attack made contact with his beak and couldn't actually kill him. I want to make sure the sprites survive there. I think that one just plain missed. I was trying to manipulate the boy so that I wouldn't come in contact with the beak, but I think I was too careful on that one.
So yeah, he wants to avoid hitting the beak at all costs.
And right now he's just jumping between these plateaus and being annoying.
Yeah, the thing is, as we mentioned, even though...
That was a dodge.
Exactly, that can happen too. So getting this guy killed quickly can be a major pain and really random. You're pretty low on health though.
Oh my god, these dodges.
Well, at least he's not spamming spells, so that's a plus. But jumping
Okay,
around...
finally.
Okay, nice.
That was some really bad RNG there.
Yeah. By the way, the reason why Stinger was facing away from the boss to hit him is because the hitbox extends a bit behind the character too, and it actually increases it. If he would face the bird, he would most likely simply hit the beak, which you want to avoid. Also, if you stand behind that tree in the cutscene where you just beat the boss, it's soft luck.
Yeah, fortunately I didn't do that. I've ended way too many runs by accidentally doing that.
And here once again, since we don't have to get the win seed, we don't.
Yep, this is actually the only seed you can skip in casual play without glitching and still be able to complete the game. But for a speedrun, it's just one of many.
You could skip the Earth seed too.
Yeah, I guess you could. Also, I was hesitating there as to whether I actually wanted to save or not, but I do, because that's a very quick save. I wouldn't take it in a PB attempt, but for a marathon, why not?
It doesn't hurt. Especially since the upcoming boss can be a real troll.
Awful menus. Oof. Please, Mr. Owl.
Those owls are terrible, because they have a very high chance of casting silence on you initially when you enter the screen, which confuses your character. In the sense, it does silence the character so they can't cast spells, but also it reverses the movement. So up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left, etc. That can be quite annoying, but the worst part about this is the owls, when they have a character confused, they will hunt that character and go, well, combo them. So you actually have to hit the owls before they hit you.
Basically, birds are jerks.
That's what it boils down to indeed. Also, very shortly he will skip through an NPC on the right side.
And I did that just by mashing select.
And pressing against the enemy. Mushroom thing. So that skips about a 30-second long cutscene, which would normally be required to remove that guy from there. But whatever, we don't need that. Also, this is probably one, if not the worst area to run through in a speedrun, since there are so many corners and enemies placed in terrible positions. It's really tricky to get past. He didn't silence you, but he hits you.
You just had to say that, didn't you? Fortunately, it didn't matter. Because I got to the rope pole anyways.
Yeah, when you jump over such a gap with the whip, all debuffs, temporary debuffs like those are removed.
Right there, I waited a little bit before dashing to the right. Or rather, the left. I'm dyslexic with left and right. I did that so that I would be able to... I'm out a cup of wishes.
What? That's special.
Okay
Did you buy
then.
any?
I guess I didn't duplicate them early in the run. I'm not sure why, but...
Yeah, we didn't check that, did we? Or did you?
No, I didn't check.
Okay, combat.
I didn't get comboed too badly. But yeah, I have to head back to Matango. That's a new one for me.
Wow. Yeah, we've never done that. Fortunately, the mushroom was already out of the way, otherwise you might have had another problem there.
Need to buy one more cup of wishes.
So yeah, that was a pretty big whoops.
Make sure my item counts right now. Okay.
Yeah, normally you want to have a 0 standing there if you didn't use any cups yet, but I guess...
Okay. I now have 8 cups of wishes. That's interesting. This is something we've never actually noticed before because we've never done this before. But the mushroom guard is actually out of the way now.
Yeah, as I said, you would have a pretty big problem if 2 characters died and you had to backtrack. You couldn't get past.
Anyways, that cave outside area actually went really well the second time around.
Indeed. Still might want to use some healing stuff.
Nah. Actually, I might want to. I'm at really low HP now. That should give me enough HP to get through the rest of the cave. But wait a little.
As long as you
go
don't
across.
get combos by the Viper. So yeah, you can avoid magic damage spells by simply changing screens or standing on triggers, etc. Which is pretty handy.
Okay, Great Viper time finally.
Yeah, the Great Viper is the first boss who has over 1000 HP, which means he has to hit him at least twice. And it's the last boss who actually has no evasion rating, which means he will hit him with the spear if it connects.
Alright, that was actually a very good fight.
Nice. Yeah, because the boss has no evasion rating, Stinger simply let go of the spear without buffering. Nice. One of the bigger worries done.
Yeah, it was a nice way to cap an awful segment. really not sure why my Cup of Wishes were there.
I'm pretty sure you used 2 up to now, and I assume it simply didn't duplicate.
No, I was in the right spot. I'm wondering if I accidentally bought 3 in the Dwarf Village and only used 1 up to this point.
Yeah, I can only remember using 1.
Yeah, that's a thing with the item duplication that we did, is that because you're reducing the item number by 2, if you only have 3 Cup of Wishes, it'll reduce it to 1, and so you only get 1 more use of that item. And I think that's what I did.
I think that sounds about right, yeah. Since you revived the sprite at the werewolves, but I can't remember any other reviving. Good thing you noticed that now, I guess.
Well, I kind of had to notice. I needed the sprite alive so I could cast Earthlight on that crystal orb.
So here's something for people that cannot know the game. In the storyline, you have to visit the desert to, well, visit the Fire Palace and visit the Ice Palace in the Ice Country. But thing is, you have to get Salamando, which is the fire spirit, from the Ice Country, because it's trapped there to complete the desert. But we go to the desert first anyways, because of this little segment here, where you get shot into the middle of the desert, being stranded basically. And you could not trigger this sequence of events by flying directly from the Ice Country. So what the developers did is if you haven't completed this event yet, you have to go back to Matango and you have to fly from the Matango cannon into the desert, which would waste more time than going to the desert first and then flying over to the Ice Country and back. In the TAS it would be about 20-second difference, but for us it's about 30-second difference, since we are going to buy some, well, Stinger is going to buy some items.
Yeah, after this boss I'll be able to go to the next town, which has a decent set of armor.
Also, fun fact, it's technically possible to skip getting the girl at all up to this point, and she would join your party with a very interesting name if you did that.
That was discovered before I started speedrunning the game, so do you know if that got fully tested?
Well, I tested it mostly, and skipping getting the girl alone costs about 2 minutes or so.
Oh, I actually thought it was
So I don't
faster
think
to
it's
skip
worth
her.
it. No, it isn't,
Okay.
because you have to level up. Actually, maybe with item walking. Because up to now I thought you had to level up a weapon to get past the rope hole.
Yeah, you're
Right.
right, we could use item walking.
You
Ooh,
might want to test that.
as well, it definitely wouldn't be faster if it wasted 2 minutes for the leveling. Yeah, we might have just come up with a new strat that we can't implement anymore, but maybe for the next marathon run. We'll have to take a look at that. This is what happens when you put me and Yaga in the same mumble. We come up with things just by theorizing about the game. It happens almost every single time.
Which is interesting. Last HDQ we randomly figured out that you could talk to, well, interact with mana seeds from the side, which saves a couple of seconds. So that's neat. Plus there are, of course, all those little things, optimizations. So here's the Mech Rider. He's basically the last boss who doesn't have over 1000 HP, which means you can one-shot him if you get lucky.
And I did. Spoiler alert.
Nice. This is one of the more interesting places to me, because you have to talk to a more or less random guard to get out of it. It's really strange.
Yeah, it is.
So finally, Stinger gets some more equipment. So he will not get one shot, at least in the next section. Technically you could skip getting any armor, all the armor, but it's not reasonable for a human player to avoid getting hit at all in the ice country.
Slightly new strat that I don't think Jagonoth has actually seen yet. Equipping and casting Ice Saber in this cannon travel area instead of once you get to the ice country. Because you can talk to the cannon travel guy while Ice Saber is being cast.
That's indeed new. That's actually pretty clever. Small time savers for the win.
Yeah, it doesn't save much time because what we did already was pretty much as fast as you could do it, but it probably saves a second or something.
Hey, Stinger, Yagama.
Yeah.
First off, I just want to say you guys are an amazing commentary pair. I've actually been quite relaxed listening to you guys talk about Secret of Mana, but we do actually have a donation, if this is a good time to read one.
Can you wait till after this boss?
Sure.
Alright, so this is a recolor of the Tropicala boss. And we do some kind of similar things for him. Thanks to all the experience we get from fighting Tropicala, we know exactly when to release our attacks. Except when I mess up like that. But the most interesting thing about this boss is that if you're too far away from him, he'll start casting magic, and that can kill you very quickly. Because the magic he uses is Burst, which is the most powerful spell in the game. And then you stand at the top of the screen so you can move on to the village.
Yeah, Burst is pretty unhealthy. So I think it's time for donation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this cutscene's a good time for donations.
Alright, well, we have a $1.12 donation from Astral Storm, who says, I like round numbers. And with that donation, that brings up our total to $8,900.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Astral. I too enjoy round numbers, but, you know, I gotta be honest, I think 9,000 is a much nicer round number.
I would agree.
So yeah, as you may have noticed in the previous area, getting past all those wolves and turtles can be really tricky. And it's been going pretty well so far. But the wolves are basically notorious for having a really large attack hurt box. So it's really easy to get hit and comboed and hit again, etc.
That was
Like
a
you
really
can
weird
see.
screen.
Yeah, like that. Was pretty reasonably good though.
Yeah, I've definitely had worse. Also, turtles are trolls. This blue slime that's going to be coming up, I have to hit him before I can get to the switch. And if you don't hit him and he moves to the right at all, you have to reset the room.
Or kill the slime, which is a lot slower.
I don't think I ever killed the slime, even when I was starting out. Alright, now this is a refight of the tauntpoles from way back at the 30-minute mark. And for this one, I'm going to try and get the whirlwind attack so that I can kill all of them at once.
Nice.
Also, I got level ups from that. Weird.
That's pretty special. So yeah, upcoming is also pretty much the first instance of using balloon as crowd control method. Otherwise, getting past that slime is really tricky without doing that. Also,
Walking through walls. That is a thing.
Yep.
You want to go ahead and talk about that while I focus
Sure.
on Frostgigas?
Walking through walls is pretty interesting, and it has all to do with the rope holes you normally use to cross gaps with the whip. By hitting a rope hole, you basically start an event, and that event interrupts all magic and other abilities cast. And if you hold against the wall, walking into a wall with a second controller, basically the event for the rope hole starts, sets the flag to be able to walk through walls. And
Got it.
nice. You can walk through walls. Oh wow, that's actually really crazy.
That's the first time I've ever gotten Frostgigas quick kill in a marathon. Actually, that's the first time I've gotten it in about a month, so I'll take
But
it.
yeah, to get the quick kill on Frostgigas, you have to hit him twice in a row, which is 60 times 60, approximately 36% chance of happening. So it's not very likely, and usually he goes invincible and you waste about 20 seconds or so.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
A thing to note about this cutscene is because of getting the Frostgigas quick kill, I wasn't able to disable the second controller, and for whatever reason after boss fights, the second controller gets the text. And we have some theories on why, but no actual concrete evidence.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. So yeah, you just saved Santa. Christmas is coming up, everyone should be grateful, right? Although, I guess Halloween is before that.
Happy Halloween.
Is that a new strategy?
Oh, what? Getting hit by everything?
Not quite.
Which room were you talking about?
The room before, after the village.
Not especially. Sometimes dashing down right there can get one of those flying flamey things to spawn, and that itself despawns an enemy. So that's why I sometimes do that.
So something that you will not see during this run is it is possible to unequip a weapon without actually switching to another weapon, which means a character can still have a character selected without having it equipped in the inventory, so a second character could actually equip that weapon. So it's possible to have, let's say, 3 swords or something like that, which is pretty neat. But in the TAS it's actually used to cross the little bridge up above from the entrance, which saves about 10 seconds or so.
Did the TAS actually use that, or did it swap the gloves around? Because I'm not sure if the item swapping, or the equipment trashing was really known back then.
It definitely uses multiple weapons of the same type at some point. That might be in a different place, that's right. In any case, the TAS is pretty old, but still about 15 minutes faster than any of our runs.
Yeah. I've done a theory TAS of this route, and it came in about a minute slower than the full-fledged TAS. Also, I forgot to do fast stride here.
Oh. So yeah, walking through walls.
Yeah, I eventually fixed it.
So yeah, you activate walking through walls by holding against the wall with a second controller, casting a spell with another character, and then simply hitting a rope hole with the third character, so to speak. It's pretty easy to do, but also really weird if it randomly happens in a run. Yeah, if it randomly happens in a casual playthrough. Nice.
Yeah, that was a perfect Minotaur fight.
The second version of this Minotaur, as a little fun fact, actually has more dark magic power than Dark Lich himself, as in the second to last boss. For whatever reason.
I think it's because all of Gorgon's Bull's magic attacks are target all, and Dark Lich. What am I? Oh, never mind. I thought I was doing something wrong by actually sealing a seed.
Nope, you have to.
But yeah, I think that's the reasoning they had, is that all of Dark Lich's spells are single target, so that maximizes their attack power, while Gorgon Bull targets everybody, and that weakens each of his attacks.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, actually, I guess that's wrong, because it'd be a terrible shame for this game to make sense.
Well, the story doesn't make much sense yet. I mean, we skip talking to the mushroom. And I think we will skip a little bit more of the story later.
Okay, cannon travels are down. The main boss has been defeated.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Stinger is pretty notorious, or kind of known for choosing the wrong cannon travel option every once in a while.
I had 2 runs into that this past Thursday when I was doing attempts. I don't think you were around for that, so it has been a very recent thing as well.
Nice. Well, at least you know where to fly to. So in this screen... Oh, you touched the god.
Okay, got the guard skip.
Okay.
There's
So
a
this
single
game-
pixel alignment you can walk on that will not trigger that guard.
Yeah, normally he would wait and block the entrance to the door, where you would have to talk to him, give him the password, which you get from Mara in the town, but we skip all that by simply being perfectly pressed against the wall. Also, even if he would get triggered, you could select skip through him like we did with, like Stinger did in the Mushroom Kingdom. And I think the sewers is pretty much the worst place of all places to run through.
It's not that bad anymore. This room that I'm in now used to be the worst, and then we found strats. Uh-oh. I'm taking a long way around this.
Oh yeah, about that. They can still hit through thing. I would simply balloon.
Okay. We did not soft lock. One thing we found is that if you walk into this cutscene with the voice Frostied from those blue drops, it soft locks the game.
Yeah, I didn't know that, and we did that during a run at HDQ, as in the practice run. It was pretty special. The
Yeah,
reason for that is
I've gotten that soft lock before, but Yaga hadn't.
yeah, so I simply walked in there. The reason for that is because Snowman doesn't have those animations. It would be required to continue in this cutscene, and so it's simply the game has no idea what to do and soft locks.
You think I should go back and save? I'm pretty good at the ruins by now. I'd actually be more worried about Metal Mantis afterwards.
I would go back and save. I totally forgot about that.
I think I'll just wait until Metal Mantis to save.
That's fine. So I like to call those seconds ruins one of the more technical places to get through the rooms quickly, since every single room has a strategy which works about 95% of the time, but there's always those 5% chance that something goes wrong. Plus, some of the rooms are rather precise to execute properly. For example, all of the slimes, they are pretty terrible if they hit you, because if they hit you, they have a really high chance of either frosting you if they are blue, or burning you if they are red. And that would require you to use a medical orb, because that's a pretty big delay until you can move again. So you would definitely want to avoid getting hit by those, and those blobs can actually kind of hunt you. I'm not sure what that's triggered by, but for some reason sometimes they decide to come at you really quick and pretty much combo the characters until they are frosted. That's also the reason why Stinger there just used Balloon to, well, negate the chance of getting frosted at all.
I'm so bad at using two controllers at once.
So yeah, optimally, optimally you would use two controllers there to move up into the door that appeared behind you after that little text box. But it's surprisingly tricky to do, to move with two controllers at once. I guess at least you despawned the eye in this room.
Yeah, I'd rather despawn those imps, but oh well.
Went pretty well. Those imps in the last room, they have a very reasonably high chance to cast some spells, which do a ton of damage. Plus, every spell cast obviously also has an animation, and until that plays out, it is quite a time waste. And here's the second wall. You want to avoid killing both eyes at all costs.
What was that? Somehow I let go of B.
Well, at least you hit him, I guess. I don't think that helps though.
Bright screen. Ooh, boy, almost died there. I thought it was targeting the girl.
Yeah, normally most bosses target the character that is closest to them. But they're finding out who is closest to them is sometimes a bit odd. Also, Stinger, he uses regenerate, well, candies to regenerate health and at the same time negate the entirety of the spell damage.
I'm getting so many dodges here.
Yeah, that's pretty special.
There we go.
So yeah, some of those fights can take up to 30 seconds longer, depending on how many random dodges the bosses get. At this point it's about a 38% chance to hit, to miss. So it can get really weird sometimes. But let's put it this way, other bosses are way worse if you get random misses, like the boss that is coming up right now.
Yeah. We have a very special boss coming up. The vampire. He is a 100% random boss. There's a little bit I can do to optimize the fight, but it's really just completely up to him for whether I get the opportunity or not.
Yeah, I think you need to hit him 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and to hit him 3 times, the special thing about a vampire is he can fly around, and during that time you cannot hit him with weapons at all, which means you simply have to wait until he comes flying down. And that's only about a 25% chance of coming down from the air every time he takes an action. So, to put that into perspective, at some point I think I had a run very early on where the vampire cost me about 5 to 6 minutes. Where normally you can kill him within a minute or so, less than a minute. It's pretty ridiculous what can happen. So, he got a good start here with the vampire immediately jumping, and Stinger will hit the vampire with the girl and stun the vampire with a spell, and then move the girl right in front of the vampire for the vampire to grab the girl, and this will give Stinger more opportunities to hit the vampire. That's 2 hits. The girl just hit him while standing up. That's pretty special.
Keep hoping this is gonna kill him. It did. That was a very good vampire.
Nice, that was very good indeed. So yeah, that was pretty much perfect execution on Stinger's part. It could have gone a little bit better by hitting him earlier, but that's a really good fight still.
Yeah, the things I could have done better there would be to have actually casted slow down with the sprite, but who knows what that would have done if it might have actually changed Vampire's RNG and caused him to fly up. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. I forgot about the second controller being on. It was controlling the text there. Fortunately, everything in that
Save.
cutscene... Yeah, save, thank you. Everything in that cutscene is auto-scrolling text, except for the very last text box. So I didn't notice until then. Please, NPCs, get out of my way.
Do thing there.
Yeah, these names are awesome.
Do the thing. I think there are a few instances where it will go the order we pick them. But most of the time in cutscenes it's going to be simply more or less random. Which name is called for.
Okay, we finally got a safety save.
And here's a pretty familiar cutscene where, if you played Final Fantasy VI, pretty much the exact same thing happens. The rebels get invited to banquet because the Emperor is being nice all of a sudden, and they get all caught.
Basically, good as dumb.
Kinda. As a punishment, we will not be going to free them, right?
Nope,
But there's a life anyway.
they deserve to rot.
So here, the Metal Mantis is a pretty special fight. It will more or less always start the same. The sprite will get hit by a fire beam and start burning. Then the Metal Mantis gets hit.
I accidentally used the wrong charge attack, unfortunately, but... oh well.
Yeah. Sometimes the Metal Mantis can go very wrong if you have too many misses.
Okay.
Which is one of the reasons why Stinger saved before it.
Yeah, if you get a lot of misses, and then Metal Mantis jumps up away from you, and casts Gem Missile, depending on how much he's already slashed and hit you, that can instantly kill you. So I've had a few runs in there. It's kind of similar to how Jabberwocky can go if you get the right RNG on him, or rather, the wrong RNG. Also clap clap and then dash. But it's just one of those things you don't want to take a huge chance on.
Bye bye, rebels. Oh yeah, we missed a thing in front of the ice palace.
We did? Oh yeah, I thought about it as I was there, but I decided I was too far behind my PB to try it. Actually, now that I think about it, that should be a donation incentive for future marathons.
Showing off how amazing the AI can be. I like it.
Yep.
So sometimes in cutscenes there are some weird triggers, and for example, you get weapon experience during this cutscene right here. No clue why.
Got the level up.
Nice. That's some more. Also, the Mech Rider is pretty special. You will see it more during the Mech Rider number 3. But here you can see Stinger positioned all his characters at the very bottom of the screen. This is because the mech riders try to get on your vertical position and then dash across the screen. But because Stinger is at the very bottom of the arena, the mech rider cannot get on his vertical position. So he will simply slowly pace around until he's dead.
Yeah, in other words, I tell him to get on my level, and he can't.
Quite literally. And here is basically where the game gets a little bit more broken.
Yeah, the first 90 minutes of this game are relatively tame in terms of glitches, other than the weapon overcharge glitch and money. Now we can actually break the sequence of the game itself.
Yeah, so normally what you're supposed to do is go to the Mushroom Kingdom, the king will tell you to go to the mountain, there the sage will tell you to go to Tasnica, to the Shadow Temple and the Light Temple and the Moon Temple. But we go directly to the sage up there and kind of ignore him. Also, it's pretty special if you have no armor at all in this area. It's kind of tricky to get past the enemies without dying. But we have a method for that, which is called climbing. Stinger simply walks straight up the hill.
I got Neko.
You got Neko? Oh,
Yeah.
That's special.
Usually you don't get Neko there because he follows the same spawning rules as enemies, where there can only be 3 on the screen at once. Also, jumping over walls is a thing.
Yeah, indeed. So that kind of... well, that little hop there with the girl just skipped the entire thing I just explained. The Moon Palace, Light Palace, Darkness Palace, then the cutscene stuff.
Yeah,
That's
and
about
Tasnica.
40 minutes of the game skipped.
Yeah, no big deal.
So how that works is interesting, to say the least. Normally the game tries to gather your entire party in one spot when you talk to the sage up there. But because the girl was already executing a level 1 charge attack, she executed that charge attack right after the right after the party was gathered. And since the trigger is set to let you walk through walls to gather the party so they don't get stuck, well, the entire party just... the girl just simply jumped through a wall into the next scene, basically. Also, you are supposed to fight yourself here, but I feel like there's an easier way to handle that. For example, you can simply get your teeth kicked in and then stand up again instead.
Ooh, that was a little scary.
Yeah.
But you didn't hit me. Please. But yeah, suicide is the fastest way to do that. Although I think we could still optimize the suicide there. I played that a little bit safer just because marathon. But
it wouldn't have been
there's still
terrible if you
some
died
things
there.
we can do. No, that area is probably one of the best places if I were to die. Because all you do is go back to the beginning of the trials. You don't actually game over. Also, I was about to fly the wrong direction.
Seems like that's contagious.
Anyways, watermelon boss.
Yeah, the watermelon boss in casual play is one of the more difficult ones since he uses wall. But since we don't care about reflecting spells onto ourselves, we simply straight up kill him. Now, what we do is rather special, to say the least. We have one of our characters stand right in his hitbox next to him, and he will always target that character because it's the closest to the boss. and the boy can simply wail away on him with the spear. Because the characters are never to the very left or to the very right of the boss, he will actually also never jump away. So it's a very stationary fight. But because all the characters don't have any armor at all, Stinger needs to use a lot of healing items to negate the spell damage, otherwise all the characters would get literally one-shot by the spell. That's one candy left.
2.
Oh yeah, 2.
I'm gonna actually hold on to it and do another set of equipment trashing later. Okay, not too bad. I had to use a lot of candies, but oh well.
That was pretty okay. As long as you don't run out of resources before you beat the boss, you're fine.
Yeah, and that was probably one of the toughest bosses in the game before we came up with that strat. Because it took us a long time to figure out basically how to hit him without him wrecking us.
Yeah, kind of the same thing for hexes. Also, you want to do the trashing before saving the hit.
I probably should do it before, actually. Because that'll mean it'll be on the save, so I'll have it for the Mana Fortress.
You don't save.
Oh wait, I'm not doing armorless Mana Fortress. Never mind.
No.
So it doesn't actually matter.
Also, standing right in the pyramid to talk with Riot.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing. Actually, I do want to do it before the save, because I will have it for the Mana Fortress since I'd still do the soft reset before Mech Rider.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So I'll just go and line that up at Frost and Echo.
So yeah, fun fact, since Stinger just skipped the Moon Temple, the Light Temple and Shadow Temple, he doesn't have the respective sprites and their magic. So getting through the Grand Palace is actually really tricky. Sure,
I should check my item levels. Okay, I'm fine.
Okay. As I said, normally you would need all the sprites at the spirits to get through the Grand Palace, since you have to use their magic on every single orb in there to progress through the thing. But we do something pretty special.
By the way, Sloop, is it okay if we reset the run? I wasn't doing very well, so I'd like to get a better run going.
Oh yeah, reset right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to do
sure.
the entire 2 hours over again.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome.
You can do that.
I'm sure Chad will love 2 more hours of Secret of Mana.
Yeah, me too. I'm enjoying it, being all relaxed here.
Alright, so this is Secret of Mana. You guys have been watching this for a little while now. We're gonna hopefully get a much better run going right now.
Good luck again.
You named the character wrong.
Oh, whoops. Actually, I'm just going to reset again. And we're going to glitch out the game. So I now have invisible characters.
Magic. So yeah, to explain exactly what happens would take a long time, more or less, since there is a numerous things. But in short, basically now the girl is invisible, and having an invisible character while a text box is up lets you do some very special things.
Like right there.
Yeah, exactly right here, walking through walls while the text box is up. But only with multiple controllers. And this is the main reason why one player 2 controller is such a much different category than one player 1 controller. Since you couldn't do this with only one controller, at least we haven't figured out how. Also, Stinger is controlling both characters at once pretty nicely. Oh.
I was, and then wolves kind of started to screw me. I'm okay now, though.
So yeah, those wolves can be really nasty.
Yeah, that was a decent recovery at least.
So yeah, Stinger just skipped another nice part of the game. Normally you're required to go through the underground palace, through the sewers, past some weird ancient civilization stuff, back into the Grand Palace. But we simply move backwards through the Grand Palace and to the next boss. He hit the switches in the previous room just to activate the boss in this room here. And that skipped another, I think, 10 to 15 minutes of the game. If you would like to know in detail how and why what stuff happens, we actually have a wiki page on Secret of Mana on how that stuff works. There should be the stuff explained to be a bit better. Also, the upcoming boss, Hexus, is really tricky to say the least. And barrels are overpowered. So what Stinger is doing here, he keeps the sprite right in front of the Hexus.
Nice.
To absorb all the hits, while the boy simply hits her from the side. Hexus is one of the scariest bosses if she gets free reign, which is why one of the characters has to stand right in her hitbox. Also very nice.
Yeah, that was a pretty good fight. And now everybody is visible again, so no more walking through walls that way.
Yeah, you make your characters visible by simply using a healing item or anything that makes a certain animation.
Here I did another save warp going into this fight, because that skips the text at the very beginning.
Also it skips the music.
Yeah, lack of music is kind of creepy, but oh well.
And once again, he tries to avoid getting on the same vertical level as the Mech Rider, to avoid getting dashed, so to speak.
That was really good.
Oh wow.
I just got a gold split by 10 seconds on my PB. That's insane.
You didn't even show off that.
No, I didn't. Sorry.
Whoops. Run going too well. So yeah, initially with that strategy we used to simply wait at the bottom of the arena until the Mech Rider would come down, but over time we simply got good enough to go up to him and whack him on the way down.
And now we're going to take a little bit of a different route from what I would do in a PB attempt. Normally I would skip coming here entirely and getting armor. And that makes the Mana Fortress a lot more difficult, but it saves about a minute. But for a marathon, that's just simply not safe enough.
So yeah, normally in the game, you would now have to visit the Pure Lands after finishing the Grand Palace. But once again, we don't really like to play by the rules.
Yeah, what are the Pure Lands? I don't remember that place.
So for those people that don't know, those yellow thingies up there are used to jump up on the ledge. But
We use them in a different manner.
indeed. So he just triggered that little guy, the jumping thing, before calling Flammy.
Yeah, and what this does is it allows us to jump over the Mana Fortress barrier.
Quite literally. It
It's not
basically
actually
overrides
how
the
it
event.
works, but it's a great animation for what we do.
Indeed. What it actually does is it overrides the event, which normally happens when you try to land on the Mana Fortress without having cleared the Pure Lands yet.
I almost soft reset there, by the way, out of
Okay.
habit for Armorless Mana Fortress.
That would have been less than ideal.
It would have made the rest of this run very scary, that's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, if you run through the Mana Fortress without armor, literally everything will one-shot you. So avoiding every single enemy would be key. Which makes for a very tense ending of the run. Other than that, enjoy the music.
It feels weird to have armor here, and I can take chances. I haven't been able to do that in a while because I've been practicing so much for the armorless version. The only problem with this is that with the armorless version, we can actually manipulate Buffy for the first part of the fight. Sadly, we cannot do this. But, oh well.
So yeah, this is the same deal as the vampire. As long as Buffy decides to stay in the air, there's nothing Stinger can do about that. And he simply has to hope that Buffy comes down so he can hit him.
He did. I might have wanted to cast slow down there to lock him down, but I decided against it.
And once again, he positions the character to be the closest to be not to be the boy, so he doesn't get hit by spells. And also here, Stinger uses slowdown again. Slowdown doesn't do any damage, but the animation is just long enough for the charge attack to get ready again. And this delays the boss long enough to get in at least one more hit before he could fly away again.
That was a really good Buffy.
That was reasonable.
Well, I was only 20 seconds off my gold, which is very good for that one. Generally, I end up with a 6.5 minute or so Buffy with getting armor, and that was a 540.